Thank you very much indeed, Richard. Thank you. Well, we're delighted that we are now joined by Rudolf Strohmeier, who is the Deputy Director General for Research Programs at DG Research and Innovation, and also the co-chair, of course, of the IMI Governing Board. So welcome to you. Let me just change your...
Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, thank you very much for your flexibility, as I couldn't do it in time, so thanks a lot. I'm very pleased to be here this afternoon and to have this occasion to talk to you about the expectations, so the public part of the exercise, of the endeavor, has in view of the upcoming Innovation Medicines Initiative number 2. Of course, we are not starting from scratch, and that's why it's only fair to highlight a few points from the ongoing Innovative Medicines Initiative 1 that has been up and running since 2008. As you know, under the 7th EU Research Framework Programme, the Commission launched public-private partnerships with EU industries in sectors of strategic importance. And as you also know, in health research, the Innovative Medicines Initiative was launched in partnership with the European pharmaceutical industry, represented by its umbrella organization, FBR. In this past 6 years now, IMI has become a model for open innovation and has delivered breakthroughs in many areas, such as diabetes or brain research. IMI has also launched a major program on combating antimicrobial resistance, completing other investments under FP7, completing other investments under FP7 for this era. And if I'm well informed, this morning you have heard about the efforts in the area of stem cell research. Furthermore, IMI has been successful in involving patients and patient organizations in a meaningful manner in its projects. Overall, the Innovative Medicines Initiative is Europe's, probably also the world's, largest public-private partnership in health research. Now, following intensive discussions with our private partner FBR and based on their continued commitment, the European Commission presented a legislative proposal for the continuation for IMI2 last year in July. Being long enough working in the European Commission, I can assure you that I'm really happy that the legislative process with the EU member states and the European Parliament took less than 10 months. This is not usually the case. Right now, we are just waiting for the publication of the Council regulation in the official journal of the EU, which is expected for the coming weeks. So the IMI legislation will then enter into force just 20 days after its publication. As a consequence, very soon, we expect to start working on IMI2 and launch the calls for proposals. Let me now first tell you a little bit more about our new initiative before I tackle the Commission's expectations. Probably Richard has already indicated the overall amount of the budget foreseen by the EU and the private partners, so he hasn't. So the total, that's why this is such a big exercise, 3.45 billion euro. This is in these times not, let's say, something which is evident. So it demonstrates that both sides have made really a commitment in this regard. And of course, the key objectives, how to spend the money, are to pave the way for breakthrough interventions, be they drugs, vaccines, diagnostics, while also supporting top-level research and innovation with great public health and commercial benefits. IMI2 will have an expanded scope compared to IMI. It will address the entire health-related life science research and innovation value chain. And as an important novelty compared to IMI1, the partnership this time will be open to industries beyond large pharma. A defined amount of EU contribution, 213 million euro, corresponding to 13% of the total, is reserved for matching the contributions from members or associated partners from other industries, such as medical technologies or diagnostics. But the principle of all EU funding is going to academia, SMEs, patient organizations, and regulators. This principle has been maintained. The strategic research agenda for IMI2, and this I have seen, so here you have been informed by Richard, is based, but it's important to underline this, on the WHO report, Priority Medicines for Europe and the World. So the goal is to deliver the right prevention and treatment to the individual patient at the right time. But of course, and this was mentioned also in the cartoon, this requires significant improvements from the slow and expensive processes in health innovation, rather than the traditional one-size-fits-all approach, where entire populations are addressed. We will in future need to target specific patient groups or individuals to ensure that each patient receives the best predictive, preventive, or therapeutic options. The rules governing IMI2 are fully aligned with those of Horizon 2020. There are some differences as regards the intellectual property rules and, as already mentioned, in the eligibility for funding. But these differences are directly linked to the very essence of the IMI2 public-private partnership. The intellectual property rules are designed for the open innovation model, and large companies that contribute in-kind resources to the program are excluded from funding. So there is a logic in it. Let me now turn to the expectations of the Commission for IMI2. The huge burden of chronic and degenerative diseases keeps growing as Europe's population is getting older. Seems to be not the case in this audience. And costs of developing new vaccines, medicines, and treatments are soaring as the complexity of diseases and the scientific challenges involved. The barriers for developing new preventive diagnostics, therapeutic interventions have been amply described. For example, findings from preclinical research are often not very predictive of what will happen in humans. It is often challenging to validate targets for new interventions. And the process for conducting clinical research is inefficient, costly, and suffers from low success rates. In such a challenging environment, industry has become conservative, and perhaps understandably so. Rather than embarking on developing truly groundbreaking new therapies, we have seen the development of many so-called Me Too drugs, sometimes only slightly improved versions of established therapies. And there are also a number of areas of pharmaceutical research innovation where the commercial incentives are simply not sufficient to support the high cost and the long duration of drug development. Here's a prime example in the development of new antimicrobials. In this case, any new molecule that would receive market authorization needs to be put on the shelf. It should only be used in exceptional cases and for those patients where no other treatment works. But the market for these new antimicrobials is therefore very small. And as a result, only 2 new classes of antibiotics have entered the market in the past 30 years. We from the European Commission fully expect that IMI2 will make an invaluable contribution to maintaining or reinvigorating industrial research and activity in areas of high societal interest that suffer currently from disinvestment, such as the already mentioned case of antimicrobials, just as it was also stressed by Richard. In doing so, IMI2 should provide Europeans, including the increased older people, with much more efficient and effective medicines and treatments, as explicitly stipulated in Article 2 of the Council regulation. Greater coordination across industry sectors will result in more reliable and faster clinical trials and better regulation. The projects conducted under IMI2 will build, and I mentioned this already, on the significant achievements under IMI1, as in particular regarding involvement of patients. But furthermore, IMI2 research innovation efforts will also open new commercial possibilities based on new services and products. The research, industry, and societal sectors involved in IMI2 will benefit from the cooperation and knowledge sharing which take place in these projects. Ladies and gentlemen, no government, industry sector, or research community can alone overcome the healthcare challenges I outlined earlier, both in scientific terms and practically. In the EU, we have realized that cooperation between the public and private sector is the only way forward, tackling some of the biggest health challenges facing society. We need to pool our resources and establish structured partnerships between the private sector and the EU. We believe these partnerships are one of the best tools to maintain the impact of the EU budget on growth and jobs. And this is also why they are priority measures under the new research framework program Horizon 2020. And the fact that the accelerating medicines partnership between the EU's National Institutes of Health and 10 pharmaceutical companies was recently launched in the US, what confirms the vital role that public-private partnerships have to play in the health sector. So, in conclusion, IMI2 can build on the successes of the current IMI1. For example, the support from the IMI Executive Office under the leadership of Michel Goldman for the implementation of IMI2. The collaboration with member states and associated countries through the States Representatives Group, pleased to see Gunnar here. The very useful advice and input from the scientific committee and the interaction with stakeholders at different levels. So I invite you all to contribute to the success of the IMI2 initiative. We need to deliver together. Thank you very much.